Let's talk about death. Specifically, let's explore the murky, mercurial waters of malevolent mercenary murder that assassins mire themselves in. I'm Lord Edgington of Goonsberry, and this is Chad vs. Chud Assassinations. Let's dive in and start some shenanigans. Before we continue, if you could assassinate that like button to prevent your mom from getting assassinated, I promise you'll barely regret it. Now, not all assassins are born the same, nor do they perform the same. So rather than trying to present them in chronological order, I'd rather present them in most Chud to most Chad, based off of the following criteria: the level of success, their result, their planning, and their overall legacy. And finally, any jokes or commentary I may make are not intended to condone or endorse violence of any kind. So if I were to say, "I killed the Malaysian Prime Minister!" that doesn't actually mean, "Kill the Malaysian Prime Minister!" Well, with that out of the way, our first entry is Robert Francois Damiens. On a cold January evening in 1757, Louis XV was assaulted while on his way to his carriage. At first, King Louis thought that he had just been punched, until his hand revealed blood from his wound. Robert Damiens had rushed past his bodyguards and stabbed Louis in the ribs. Believing death was closing in, Louis called the High Confessor and his wife to his deathbed to confess and apologize to his wife for his numerous affairs. And then Louis drifted back to reality, because thanks to his coat, his stab wound was actually only 1 centimeter deep. He wasn't even close to dying. He was just a proper princess, experiencing pain for the first time. Damiens, however, wasn't so lucky. After 2 months of torture to ascertain if he had any accomplices, they gave up, and they publicly executed Robert by quartering. This attempt's low on the Chud scale, not due to his diligent planning or success, but rather due to his ability to make the king look
like a little bitch.
Moving deeper into the Chud assassin scale, we have Richard Lawrence. Richard Lawrence was an English-born house painter. In 1832, he informed his family that he would be returning to England. A month later, he returned to his family, saying only that it was too cold in England. However, he soon planned to return to England after he had just returned, just to study landscape painting. Which, if you return to where you returned from, is that super fucking dumb? Yes, it is. By Lawrence's account, his return trip was canceled due to unnamed people preventing him from leaving the United States. He instead quit his house painting job, stating that the government owed him a large sum of money and that he was now rich. On failure of payment of said debt from the government, Lawrence began stalking President Jackson. He was seen in his paint shop tracking Jackson's movements, muttering, "I'll be goddamned if I don't do it." On January 30th, 1835, Lawrence was reading a book in his paint shop when he suddenly started maniacally laughing before abruptly stopping, standing up, and repeated his mantra, "I'll be goddamned if I don't do it," and then left his shop. President Jackson was returning from a congressman's funeral when Lawrence started stalking him, hiding behind a pillar before pulling out a pistol and pointing it at Jackson's back. Misfire! Richard pulled out a second pistol, solid planning, but again, misfire. The 78-year-old President Jackson realized the threat and locked in, closing the distance like a samurai, while pulling out a can opener in preparation for the whoop-ass can that he was about to open on Lawrence with his cane. He beat Lawrence silly until the police arrived. This was the first known assassination attempt on a United States president. This was also the first known instance of lesbian dick. Get it? Because people named Richard are sometimes nicknamed Dick, and homeboy just had 2 pistols chilling on him while he was in his paint shop, so, he always had his strap on.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Don't worry, I haven't quit my day job. Lawrence was convicted of attempted murder of the president. However, he was spared jail and instead sent to an insane asylum for the remainder of his life. Dick nuts. Our chuddiest chudler sits firmly in the headquarters of the CIA in Langley, Virginia. Yes, the US's premier government-toppling, coup-founding, paramilitary-making, cocaine in the inner city spreading, farcical fuck-ups are the laughingstock of the intelligence community when it comes to offing a head of state. The CIA tried and failed to eliminate the first secretary of the Cuban Communist Party over 600 times. 634 to be exact. We don't have nearly the time to examine each individually, but let's check out their highlight reel of recurring ruin, infecting Castro's scuba suit with tuberculosis and later fungus, the Bay of Pigs.
Got him!
Numerous hit jobs they paid the Italian mob to conduct. Poisoning a pen in the hopes that he would lick it to make it write better. Poisoning a cigar. Multiple food poisoning attempts. More poisoned cigars. Bombs. But some of my favorite attempts are not attempts to kill the man, but to kill his image. Like when they used thallium salts to try to destroy his famous beard.
Target acquired.
Or another time when they used an aerosolized version of LSD in his radio studio where he gave public addresses in order to undermine his public confidence in his leadership. C high A, am I right, guys? But the chuddiest attempt, and my personal favorite, rests squarely with Maria Lorenz, an ex-lover of Castro. She met Castro in 1959, and after a year-long affair ending in her scorned rejection, she agreed to poison Castro with pills. Castro caught on to her callous commotion and pulled her into his bedroom to confront her. She confessed. Castro unholstered his pistol, cocked it, and handed it to her.
Do it then. Kill me.
I can't.
Can't or won't.
Can't. I love you.
And I love taking sneaky bitches to Pound Town.
Yes, Castro, dripping in raw charisma, turned a CIA asset into a bang trophy. And by the end of it, I'm sure she was also dripping. But not with charisma.
Cream free.
This ranks firmly in the Chris Chan Chud tier for the CIA. Massive L. Let's carry on to the Chads. The assassins of Archduke Ferdinand, the catalytic event leading to World War I, while successful, owe their success more to luck than they do to skill. Let me elaborate. Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the presumptive heir of the Austrian-Hungarian throne, which held significant influence over its neighbor Serbia. Franz Ferdinand publicly announced a trip to Sarajevo. This announcement caused a shadowy organization to stir
In the darkness.
The Black Hand.
a Serbian nationalist group concerned with Ferdinand's intention to further vassalize their country. They dispatched 6 assassins: Mohamed Medbasic, Veso Krubrilovic, Nadeko Kubranovic, Cheveko Popovic, Trifko Gerbrevs, and Gavrio Princip. Each was armed with a pistol and hand grenade, and during the parade celebrating the Duke's arrival, it would be up to them to determine which weapon would be best to use. The Duke's parade unintentionally took place on the anniversary of the Battle of Kosovo of 1389, a conflict between a diminishing Serbian Empire and the Ottoman Turks, which led to Serbian nationalist groups like the Black Hand being formed to reclaim Serbia's former glory.
What is it you're studying?
Medieval Slavic history.
Really? Well, that must be fascinating.
Well, everybody thinks that, but
So tell me, what are your thoughts on the Battle of Kosovo of 1389?
no opinion.
Well, not even as it applies to the rise of modern Serbian nationalism?
The day of the assassination, the motorcade passed Muhammad, who just chickened out. It then passed Veso Kubrelovic, who felt pity for the Duchess for having to witness her husband's murder. Just before the motorcade reached the Kumura Bridge, Nedelyanko Grobranovic. Jesus fucking Christ, why are all these names so fucking hard to say? Threw his grenade, which the Duke's car passed over before the car following received the blast, killing the passengers and wounding 20 parade viewers. Kubranovic fled, but with police in hot pursuit, he opted to take his cyanide and jump off the bridge. The poison failed as it was low quality, and a drought in the area had caused the Milajak River to be nearly dried up. So instead of landing in water, he broke his leg and then began vomiting up the low quality poison. The Duke's car sped towards its destination, the town hall, for the Duke's speech. Given the day's event, though, the Duke decided to cut his speech short in order to visit the injured parade attendees in the hospital. The motorcade retraced the parade route, but made a wrong turn at the Latin Bridge. Realizing his mistake, the driver attempted to reverse the car, causing it to stall right in front of Gavrilo Princip, who wasted no time in fulfilling Franz Ferdinand's request. Now, while the success, impact, and initial planning were all excellent, I have to subtract points for luck taking such a large role, not to mention the first 3 assassins failing pathetically. I will generously give this 8 out of 10. And now, for our King Giga Chad Supreme Assassin, goes to whoever actually killed the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. And before you hit me with the, actually, Luigi Mangione did it. Wake up, sheeple. Are you just gonna believe whatever the lamestream media feeds you? I, for one, know that he couldn't have done it, as he was actually thousands of miles away, helping me move. See, I actually have photo evidence. The corrupt New York DA won't even allow me to enter this into evidence. After Luigi and I moved me out of my house, I said, hey, you wanna grab a coffee and maybe flirt with some baristas? And he reminded me of his heart condition that prevents him from drinking coffee. Instead, he suggested that we go and read to the blind at church. I offered him a jacket since it was December, and he declined, reminding me of how hot his body temp gets, hence no shirt. So whoever really killed Brian Thompson, I hope you're happy. Taking a father away from his estranged family, and my childhood friend away from me. However, I must begrudgingly concede that it was perfectly planned, perfectly executed, including having a fall guy. So yes, 10 out of 10, a perfect Chad assassination. And that concludes my Chad vs. Chud assassination list. There may be some upcoming longer than usual breaks. I have a lot of personal responsibilities in the near future, but I am going to try to make some shorter videos just to fill it out. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you thought. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.